How's it going, guys? What's up, YouTube? So, Husky Shane, the bass head, back yet again. Keep seeing my pretty face. Today is, I believe, video 5. Video 5, I think, of this build series. So, we built the box in our last video to house those 212s. It's a ported box, 6-inch aero port. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that one. Today, we're gonna be getting everything hooked up. We're gonna be putting the box in the car. We're gonna be putting the subs in the box. We're gonna be wiring everything up and getting it ready to play. So we're almost done, guys. We're on the home stretch. Stick with me with this one. I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Well, got it in there. It took a little finagling, and as you can see, I got about 1/4 of an inch of space right there. Yeah, that's why we went with this thinner MDF mounting platform, right? Otherwise, there's no way that that would fit. But fits in there like a glove, right? We're gonna have our fans here pulling the air out. It fits about as good as I think it could. So guys, now that we got the box in there, there is one issue that I need to address. So I know the seats close, but like I've showed you guys before, we only have a little bit of wiggle room between this box and this amp. So we don't want that amp sliding around back here and then potentially running into the, we don't want the sub box sliding around back here and then potentially running into the amplifier and damaging it. So we're going to fix the subwoofer box to the false floor that's underneath it so that that doesn't happen. Now remember, this floor here is bolted in over there, so that's not going to slide. And it meets it right at the edge here, right? You can see the fur sticking out. And I know that underneath that I have like a 1/2 inch, like a 1x1/2 or something underneath it for some strength. So that'll give me something to kind of bite into with these. We're gonna run these, just run some screws down in there, just enough to keep this from sliding around. That is not sliding anywhere. Just took one screw right there, one screw right there, and it's a good anti-theft device too. Nobody's gonna be able to pull that box out of there unless they remove the subs and yada yada yada, and that's just not gonna happen. Oh, well guys, as you can tell, it is hot as crap out here. East Valley, Arizona, Queen Creek, you know, I think the high today was like 115 or something like that. But it's like that for like 3 months straight, so what are you gonna do? Not work on your project? I guess just die of a heat stroke, I don't know. Anyway, let me show you what we did here. We ended up changing gears here. We had our fuse block under the seat, remember? Well, it didn't clear the way I thought. I popped that seat down one time and it just ripped the whole plastic cover off of it. Yeah, so that didn't work out. Then if it rips that cover off, all those fuses are gonna be exposed and that thing's gonna short out and just cause all kinds of problems. So luckily I had this SMD already sitting in my toolbox. So we just decided to go with that instead. We got our 3 grounds right there. Got our fused links are just gonna jump right over across like that. And then that's gonna tuck really comfortably behind the seat. Not gonna have any clearance issues at all with that. So I like this better. These SMD fuse blocks are so expensive compared to these ill customs ones. But I've always had issues with this part right here breaking off. Every single one I've owned, I've had at least one of them do that to me. And so I guess, I don't know, I guess you get what you pay for. Probably gonna stop buying those from now on. All right guys, well, next step is to get this bad boy wired up. Well guys, I wanted to do like a time-lapse video of me installing all that wire, but phone got too hot and it shut itself off. So I wasn't able to do that. But let me show you what I got. It's pretty sweet, yeah. Got our power runs here going right to the fuses. Those are going down there to the battery. Got our 3 grounds running over there. Don't have any clearance issues back here, right? Got plenty of space behind the seat. And then if I ever need to switch out those fuses, I can just fold that seat down and do it right there instead of it being under the seat. Kind of glad I broke that other fuse box because I like this one better. Back at it again this morning, guys. It was tough yesterday. The heat was kind of getting to me. It was well over 100 degrees while I was out here. Anyway, getting ready to mount the subwoofers, right? We got everything in place. This is just temporary, just to kind of see how it's going to look. But everything's bolted into place. The amp is in place. Now, one thing I did have to do that's kind of unsightly, I had to remove this trim panel on that side. Now, it doesn't take away from the function, right? Seatbelt still works, but you can see this little protrusion here. It's meant to hold like a shelf that came in this car. Well, the one that was on this side stuck out to about right there, and I just could not get this. It was only not clearing by about that much. And I thought, well, I'll just get my blade and I'll just cut that off. Like, yeah, you know, before you start ruining trim panels, why don't we just pull it off? And then if we want to put it back on and modify it later, we'll do that. So I just took these neon lights and just zip tied them up. Like I said, I'll deal with that later once I kind of figure out what I want to do. But right now, that gives us the space to mount these subs. Well, now we got that first subwoofer installed, and let's draw our attention here to the port. You know, as you can see, it's one of those Aero ports by Big Ass Ports. All I did was put some of this aluminum tape around it to hold the joints together. But I had to do it before I put this subwoofer in, because that little bell on the bottom does not fit through that hole, so I had to tape it in here. So if I ever want to adjust the length of this particular down tube, I'm gonna have to pull one of the subs. But to prevent from having to do that, I can just make my modifications here. I can make it shorter or longer within about 4 or 5 inches or so here at the top without having to get down there at the bottom. So anyway, you guys have seen me install a subwoofer, right? You just stick it on there and you run these 1/4 bolts into these nuts or into these T-nuts. You know, it is what it is. We'll get that one in there and then I'll bring you guys back on once I've had that done. got these subs wired up now. I didn't really feel like you guys needed to see me do that. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just put the speaker wire in the hole here, right? So we got 8 gauge everywhere, all around, except coming off the amp, we got 4 gauge. These are dual voice coil subs, right? Dual ones, as you can see. So it is always good to check and make sure that you are actually wired at the impedance that you think you're wired at. So my goal here was 1 ohm, right? So these are wired in series with themselves, right? So dual 1 ohm wired in series up to 2 ohm, right? So 2 ohm, 2 ohm, then those are wired in parallel with each other to bring it back down to 1 ohm. Now we got our multimeter here. And let's just check and see if we're right about that. Let's see if we did. It's tough to do with one hand here. Let's see. Let's see if we're wired at 1 ohm. Let's see, can I get that in there? There we go. I got that probe in there on the negative. Hit that on the positive. Okay. 0.7, so it came down a little bit, but I mean close enough, right? And maybe we're getting a connection issue. Okay, so it's actually around 0.8, 0.7-ish. Either way, close enough. Okay, so just a quick little tutorial on how I'm going to wire this up. You've got your positives, which is the yellow wire, and then your negatives, which is the black wire coming off your fans. I soldered those in together and then wired them in with the yellow and the black coming off of this thermostat. So basically, this thermostat is what is going to turn these fans on and off. So you've got your hot and your ground coming into the thermostat itself. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run a switch, probably just like a toggle switch, something like that, in on the ground. That way I can turn the thermostat on and off. Then you got your temperature sensor that I'm going to put right on the amp. So then when this thermostat reaches a set temperature, it will turn the fans on and off. It's the same setup that I've had before, and it's the same setup that I have in my truck. So I've got a couple of videos on me wiring these up. But that's just a quick little how-to on how do you wire this setup. Okay, so what we need to do now is get power to our thermostat. Oops. So you can see what I've done here is I put a hot wire right there that is fused. It's got this inline fuse right here. Okay, and then it runs up behind here, and I'm going to zip tie all that up. But then it ties into our fuse block. Or excuse me, not our fuse block, our thermostat. It goes on the hot on here. Then I got a negative running to a little switch right there. Right, so right there. It's going to be, once that trim panel is back on, you're going to be able to just reach under here and turn that on and off. Right, and then that ground's right up there on that common ground. It's this blue wire here. So let's hit it. See? Okay, and then what we did here is we did go ahead and cut this little ear piece off. Remember that sub wouldn't clear it? Well, we cut it off, put a little piece of sound deadener on there just to cover the hole. It's not pretty, but that's okay. So let me get all this put back in there, and then I'll show you guys how it turns out. And there it is, guys. So we got the trim piece back in place. You can see with that little ear cut off, clears the sub just fine. Got my neon light back in there. Right now it actually looks like a car again. Okay, I've got everything buttoned up here. See, you got that toggle switch right there. Check this out. All right, so we'll have to set that thermostat to get these fans to work, but we know we got power going to it now, so now all I got to do is set the thermostat. Okay guys, so I just want to give you a little demonstration of how these fans work. So I did set my thermostat to if it gets hotter than 40 degrees. Now that's in Celsius, so that's like 119 degrees Fahrenheit, which seems hot, but here in Queen Creek, Arizona, the ambient temperature might be that hot. So like in my truck, I'll turn my fans on and they'll turn on without the amps even running at all. So anyway, then I'm gonna have it cool it down to 38, which really is just bringing it back down under 100 degrees or so, something like that. So it still gives it some room to be pretty warm, but hopefully not so warm that it goes into protect or anything like that. So anyway, let me flip this on. All right, well, those are putting out a good amount of air, so that's good. Should be enough to keep it ventilated back here. At least I hope so. If not, we'll have to revisit this, but I think this will be plenty. Okay, well, that's another one in the books. We got this thing coming together. Subs are wired up, amp is wired up, fans are wired up. I mean, this thing's wired up, ready to go. Maybe my next video will be like some demo shots or a walk around or something, I don't know. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate you watching my videos. I really hope that if you're new to this, my videos will give you maybe some inspiration to try a lot of this stuff yourself, right? Because that's how I started off, right? Like watching a lot of the videos from like EXO and now Parker the Basshead and all these guys, these DIY guys, where a lot of the stuff can seem really intimidating at first, but you're never gonna learn how to do it until you try it. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching and subscribing. Every time I look at my computer screen, it looks like I gained a couple more subscribers, so I appreciate that. I hope these videos are helping you guys out if you're new to this. Anyway, I really appreciate it.